Today I'm going to introduce you to a few WTF/SHMUP moments that I've encountered throughout my history of gaming. The first one I'm going to show you is Cho and Nikki for PlayStation 1. It's a Japanese release. This game has also seen versions on PS2, Sega Saturn, and so on. It's basically a Gradius style game with a homoerotic theme, and it has weirdness abound, and it's almost incomprehensible and has to be seen to be believed. From the start of the game to the end, it's just utter strangeness. You start out as basically a bikini-clad Japanese man with a Viking helmet and S&M style gear and boots. It's ridiculous. Over in America, where I live, normally when somebody sees something like this, they would think that somebody had some marijuana. They get them. I don't know what kind of frame of mind somebody would have in Japan to come up with this game. I mean, it really is a cool game for what it is. It's a lot like Gradius. It's a great shmup. This is almost like a mini stage before the true game, because once you get into normal game, the gameplay style is quite a bit different. There's really no challenge to this first part. You just keep moving up and down and just take the enemies out. And sometimes when you crash or die, it'll just throw you into the first stage, but I'm going to get through here just so we don't have any issues. It's like a little bit over a minute stage. Once you get into the meat of the game, it's more of a Gradius style game. And I ripped the soundtrack out of this to get to a decent size. The game is about 40 or so megabytes once the soundtrack's ripped out. But here's the first stage in the game, and it's just strange. I mean, I won't even talk. I'll just let you enjoy this. It's really hard not to talk when I see such strangeness abound on my screen. What the hell am I looking at? Now, I know all you guys with PlayStation 3s are going to go download this game now. And you think this is strange, wait till you see the first boss. Here comes the first boss, right after this section. This costs $6 on the PlayStation Network if you want to buy it on there. It will be in my V2. Now, what kind of boss is this? I don't know what I'm looking at. And here comes your WTF moment. If you think this is bad enough, here you go. I don't know what I just seen, but I'm not going to sleep the same. This cannot be unseen. It is quite a bit like a Gradius game, though, so it does have challenge, it does have good gameplay, so we're going to move on to a few more WTF moments to try to wash away the trauma that this may have caused you. I apologize in advance. You may remember back in the 1990s when Mortal Kombat came out and digitized graphics in games with real actors was a big trend at the time. I'm going to show you a game called Guardians of the Hood for arcade. This is made by the same company that made Pit Fighter, which also shared similar digitized graphics with real actors. And the WTF moment in this game is the villain that you encounter that you have to take on. If you notice the selection screen here, all these characters look like various 80s icons. Look, it even has the Pit Fighter style opening screen. So I'm going to insert some coins and get this going. This guy here looks like he's from Gymkhana. This guy here looks like he's Jean-Claude Van Damme. Let's pick the Gymkhana guy and see what happens. Macaulay Culkin, what the hell are you doing in this game? I don't know how the hell that happened. Keep an eye on the homeless guy in the background. 3D homeless guy. Just like TMNT, Turtles in Time on Super Nintendo. It's a pretty decent brawler game. Not quite up there with Final Fight, but if you like Pit Fighter and want a little bit more substance to it, such as a side-scrolling thing, this game's fun to play. Now I'm going to give you another WTF moment with the SHMUP theme. It's a Japanese-only PC Engine game, and it's called Toilet Kids. From the beginning to the end, it's just oddness abound, just like Cho and Nikki. Now, how many games do you know that start out in a bathroom with somebody going to the toilet? But you think this is strange, watch what happens next. Something crazy is going to happen. I see the foreshadowing. Okay, he gets sucked into his toilet. Now he's in a poop world. Literally a poop world where everything is themed after poop. You got turds that are crawling on the ground. You got gold poop. And what are those? Corn that's flying through the sky. You got a frog that just shot turd pellets at me. Game's not too shabby overall. It even has a decent soundtrack. It reminds me a little bit of a Dragon Spirit style game that Namco would have made, but this is strangeness. It almost looks like there's a porta potty shooting poop nuggets at me right now. I don't know what else to say about this game. But we're going to move on to the next weird game. We're going to do Codename Viper for Nintendo, which, creatively speaking, somebody made a bad decision as far as the palette scheme for the game. I'm not going to play the game, I'm just going to let it run into its own attract mode, and you're going to see something that just is automatically weird. He has no pants. The palette decision, they could have easily chose blue or black for the color for pants, but right here we have a guy that's basically running around with no pants. So there's your WTF moment, Capcom. Now we're going to go over Ring King, which some of you guys may be familiar with the weirdness in this game. Once you get past the first round, you get a true WTF moment. So we have to make it through one agonizing round of tediousness. I mean, this game is... Data East made some great games, but this would not be in my favorites. I mean, if I want to play a boxing game, I'm going to play Punch-Out. But I've had my fun with this game back in the day. It's just one that doesn't hold up as well after time. Right now, I wish I had my NES Advantage hooked up so I could do turbo and just go bam, bam, bam on this guy. But all we have to do is just make it to the first round so you can see your WTF moment that we've been patiently waiting for in this game. 25 seconds left. Luckily, they were quick seconds. The anticipation is getting to you, isn't it? 15 seconds to go, and you get to see your WTF moment. And this Nintendo seal of approval means nothing when you run into moments like this in games. Here we go, get ready. I do not know what I'm looking at, but I'm traumatized. And I can imagine what kids would have thought when they seen this back in the day, but we were all innocent, so we played the game without even realizing the possible tones there. Now I'm going to show you Blazing Lasers, a personal favorite of mine that was released in the United States for the TurboGrafx 16. This game was also released in the arcade as Gunhead. It has a fantastic soundtrack and is very similar to a Sunsoft style soundtrack that you'd find in Batman, Blaster Master, Fester's Quest, Gremlins. I mean, great game, good gameplay, and the graphics in TurboGrafx 16 in general, they have way more colors than Nintendo, so this game, in comparison to an early shmup game on Nintendo such as Alpha Mission, it literally kicks its ass. I'm going to turn the volume up, give you a little bit more of the music here. Some great music here. And it has that drum style beat that you'd find in a Sunsoft game too. Next up, I'm going to show you what I consider the #1 shmup game that was ever released on PlayStation 1. Einhander, by none other than Squaresoft, who also had great success with the Final Fantasy series, and they made Rad Racer. And they eventually combined it with NX, and we all know some of the great games NX made, such as ActRaiser, Terranigma, Soul Blazer. So you got some good companies here. But in any case, this is what I consider the best PlayStation 1 shmup. In this game, I got down to about 44 megabytes by taking the soundtrack out of it. And I love that cleverly disguised countdown, which is truly a load screen. Another game with a great soundtrack, but unfortunately with the Mini Nintendo, you can only go so far as having full games on it. At least with this being at 44 megabytes, you can have dozens of other games on top of it. But here we go, one of my favorite shmup games ever. This is right up there with Radiant Silvergun and Ikaruga and Sapphire. Starts out easy enough, but by the time you get to the 3rd or 4th stage, it becomes almost bullet hell. And I've always wanted this game to be released on the PlayStation Network. I was disappointed to find out it was released over in Japan, but not over here. But I bought the game legitimately on PlayStation 1 from eBay, and I also put it on my Mini, so I'll always have it. I love how it switches to a pseudo 2.5 3/4 perspective, almost like a 3D angle here. This isn't a true WTF moment, but this is just one of my favorite shmup games. You can't go wrong with this one. Now I'll show you what I considered the second best PlayStation 1 shmup game. It's R-Type, made by the great company Irem, and just like Sunsoft, they eventually went bankrupt due to unforeseeable circumstances and just the way the market moved. And the gimmick that made this game quite interesting was you had an orb that acted sort of familiar, that you could plant, attach, and detach from your ship, and you could use it for strategic elements such as a shield or throwing it out into the fray of battle, and you'll see exactly what I'm talking about in a minute. And there's been quite a few other R-Type games. R-Type 1, a great game, it's on Sega Master System, TurboGrafx 16, also arcade. Then there's Super R-Type on Super Nintendo, and that's also a remake of the arcade R-Type 2. And there's a difference between the two, because the arcade version is extremely fast, the Super Nintendo version is really slow. It's just, if you remember the games like Gradius 3 on Super Nintendo, all the sprites on screen at once really slowed the game down to a crawl. So when you're playing the arcade version and see that game that's literally 2.5 times faster, it kind of takes you off guard for a minute. But anyways, here's R-Type Final, my second favorite PlayStation 1 shmup. And sorry, I meant R-Type Delta. R-Type Final is on PlayStation 3. Sorry for that little error. But you'll see my orb / familiar in a second here. I'd really love to see them put R-Type Final on the PlayStation Network, because I missed that game. There's my orb, and I can send it right out into the fray battle and tack up close. Or I can pull it back and use this as a shield. And if enemies hit me head on with fire, the shield protects me. I can also send it behind me if I want to. Like so.